Bienvenida mi gente, ¿cómo están? How is everybody out there? Thank you guys once again for tuning in to another episode of the Toma Todito Show. And I want to jump right into today's episode and talk about the current state of boxing's heavyweight division. It's pretty much wide open, but between two fighters right now is where the dispute's at as to who is the heavyweight champion of the world, or the recognized heavyweight champion of the world. Those two fighters that I'm referring to are Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Both of them they're split down the middle as far as titles. Anthony Joshua having one extra title than Tyson Fury. Anthony Joshua currently sits with the super champion, or as the super champion in the WBA. And of course, as we were talking in the lightweight division a few episodes back with Teofimo Lopez and other divisions, the WBA has a super champion, they have a regular champion, they have an interim champion, and not much that I could tell you about Mahmoud Char, who's a regular champion in the WBA. He sits with a 31-4. Not too familiar with him as of yet, but he has a WBA regular champion, the regular champion title. Anthony Joshua is a super champion, and at that division, there's Trevor Bryan, who's an interim champion. He's out of the United States, undefeated, 20-0, 14 knockouts. So these records seem fairly good. Obviously, we have to start looking and diving a little deeper into seeing what their opposition has been like to date, and how close are they to start facing the top names and the top ranked fighters in that division. So as of now, we got the WBA recognizing Anthony Joshua as the super champion. The IBF also recognizes Anthony Joshua as their organization's champion, as does the WBO. For the WBC, Tyson Fury is their champion, and the Ring Magazine Lineal Heavyweight Championship title, Tyson Fury has it around his shoulder, or over his shoulder. He took that from Deontay Wilder. Now, if you have that title, regardless of what division you find yourself in, the man to beat is the one who carries the Ring Magazine title, at least by popularity, by common vote or common acknowledgement, is whoever the man is at that division is usually the Ring Magazine, and it's been deemed that way because of its historic status and the historic meaning behind that title. Tyson Fury has the Ring Magazine title. He has the WBC title. Anthony Joshua has the other three. It's going to be interesting, right? Now, in the WBC, Tyson Fury having that title, the interim champion in the WBC is Alexander Povetkin. Alexander Povetkin coming off of a victory after defeating Dylan White earlier this year. Dylan White's another big name in that division with 2 losses only. Big heavyweight, strong power on his behalf. He lost to Alexander Povetkin, and let's see if we could break this down, because one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this division is the excitement is back. It's exciting again to watch heavyweight boxing. There's drama, the storylines are there, the hype is there, the noise, the crowds are interested again. They're selling out arenas. For the last few years, if you recall, Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko sold out their arena with 100,000 in attendance that night at the Wembley Stadium. Insane attendance for a heavyweight division. The excitement is back, and dating back to the 2010s, pretty split, right? There wasn't much noise going on. The 2000s to 2010s, or the 2000s as we would list it, it was okay. You had the Klitschko's pretty much running the show. Lennox Lewis going out of the picture early in the 2000s. Lennox Lewis leaving a stamp mostly throughout the 90s, but very blue-collar type fighter, very quiet, not a big talker, wasn't big into engaging. He kind of changed the format from people promoting themselves by talking and the showmanship and so forth. Lennox Lewis was just a good champion, a people's champion, just showed up to work, showed up to fight, did what he had to do and got in the ring and showed his excellence, right? Legendary fighter. Now, this type of hype that I'm talking to you about hasn't existed since dating back to the mid to late 80s and the early to mid 90s, where you had Tyson at his peak, George Foreman making a comeback in 1987, if I remember correctly, and you had Michael Moore climbing up the ranks, Evander Holyfield jumping from cruiserweight up to heavyweight, Buster Douglas upsetting Mike Tyson. You had Riddick Bowe, you had Francois Botha. Wow, it was just the storylines were there, the hype was there, Don King doing his best at promoting these fights, and all the attention was going to the heavyweight division. Tyson gets incarcerated at his peak, ends up coming out, and then it's like, who's he gonna take on? Tommy Morrison, right? Who was listed as the Great White Hype and was featured on a Rocky movie, Rocky 5, if I remember correctly. And Butterbean was starting to make a splash doing his tough man contest, right, where it was just like blue collar boxing. Anybody steps in the ring and challenges, and Butterbean was a knockout artist, and that was mid 90s. It was just insane, right? George Foreman was on a tear at that time, and Ray Mercer with the power back then as well. So not since that era in my lifetime have I experienced hype around the heavyweight division until recently. And as of recent, I'm talking maybe about 2017 and to today, maybe 2016, if that. It's been setting itself up fairly well. Here, this is what I want to talk about right now as far as who's the deciding factor in the heavyweight division, who's the top dog in the heavyweight division right now, has a lot to do with the coming months, and we're going to learn a lot about this heavyweight division in the coming weeks and the coming months. You have two big fights that were scheduled this upcoming December 12th. Anthony Joshua is one, and Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting Kubrat Pulev. Pulev also sits with one defeat. Now, Kubrat Pulev is one of the top dogs at heavyweight division right now. Anthony Joshua also has his one defeat that came at the hands of Andy Ruiz in 2019. So they're going to face off each other. They're going to face off against each other this upcoming December 12th in London. That same night, there was another fight with two top dogs in the heavyweight division who maybe I would tell you, like the A side fighters in the heavyweight division. Before I touch on that fight, the A side fighters, in my opinion, are going to be Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and then we go to the second row of heavyweight fighters, and I would list Joseph Parker, I would list Kubrat Pulev, I would place in that list Alexander Povetkin, Andy Ruiz. Then the third row, I would have Dylan White. You have Derek Chisora, who's constantly lingering around the heavyweight division, has approximately 10 defeats, if I remember correctly, last I saw his record. But yet, he's game. He gets into these big fights. He has 2 losses to Tyson Fury. He's lost twice to Dylan White. He just lost to Alexander Usyk. And Alexander Usyk, I'm going to place in that, or Alexander Usyk, I'm going to place him in that third row, but quickly climbing up to the second row, and will by no shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, be in the top fighters in the heavyweight division and the force to be reckoned with fairly soon. He just defeated Derek Chisora. He's moving up, and he's kind of taking the path of Evander Holyfield. He just moved up from cruiserweight. He was the man at cruiserweight. He was it. He cleaned out the division. Now he's taking on all comers, and there he is. He just beat Derek Chisora. He's had 2 or 3 heavyweight fights now, and he's quickly climbing the ranks, and he's going to be the who's who, or one of the names to recognize in the heavyweight division. So Dylan White, who else comes to mind? Derek Chisora is there. Chris Ariola's kind of on the exit side of his career, but it looks like he climbed himself into a fight with Andy Ruiz, at least the reports that I saw in the last couple months. I don't know if that fight's going to materialize. Andy Ruiz, as you know, has been on the up and downs with his training, with his weight, and so forth. But as of recent, I believe as of September, he actually joined Canelo Alvarez's team, and he's training now with Eddie Reynoso and that crew out there. An awesome stable of fighters that Canelo has put together, Eddie Reynoso and that team, because they got Oscar Valdez, they got El Panterita Neri, who's another awesome fighter, wild child, right? A wild personality to tame and to control. And Eddie Reynoso will say it in his interviews where he's like, we have our work cut out for us trying to tame him. And then Canelo himself, Ryan Garcia's in that team now. I believe they have El Rey, Julio Cesar Martinez, who's also a young champion. And so you name it, Andy Ruiz is surrounded by a lot of quality boxers, quality talent, and what else than having Eddie Reynoso, who has come up to be one of the elite boxing trainers and boxing minds in the sport today. Andy Ruiz, I think, is going to be fine in the coming months. Deontay Wilder is the one that's worrying me a little bit. Deontay Wilder, with his allegations that he's come out since the loss to Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder has made several allegations that his water was poisoned by his cornerman Mark Braylon, one of his trainers. Then he came out and said that there was what they're calling now Glovegate. And Tyson Fury has also come out to defend himself. A lot of reports, a lot of media going on about this, a lot of back and forth going on about Glovegate, whether the gloves were tampered with and there was an egg-shaped weight in the gloves, whether Tyson Fury was not fitting his gloves properly, therefore causing gashes and scratches inside of Deontay Wilder's ear, hence the bleeding that we saw during the rematch, the egg-shaped weight. In the claim that weight was installed in Tyson Fury's gloves or hidden in the gloves, within the gloves, Deontay Wilder is making the claim that he ended up getting his face damaged, his head damaged in the shape of such weights. The vest walking out of the costumes that he's accustomed to wearing, the masks and the showmanship that he comes out to each and every fight. Apparently the vest, which is a 20 or 40 pound weight vest that he walked out to the ring with, ended up being a factor in his performance that night, and or playing a role in why he performed in the way that he did in that rematch fight. So there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of claims being made on behalf of Deontay Wilder. None of it has been proven yet, and of course people have jumped all over him, right? That making claims and pointing the finger and that he's washed up, he should retire, he should this, he should that, making excuses and what a sore loser, this and you feel bad for Deontay Wilder. We don't know how this story is going to end. We don't know if he has any evidence to prove these claims or to back these claims, but that's where the Deontay Wilder story is at. As far as him getting back to boxing, if he's able to get past this stuff, get past all this noise, all this cloud, all this smoke that's in front of him at the moment, and he gets back to just boxing and just business, he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. And I have no reason to not believe that he would be a live dog against Tyson Fury and being able to beat him. Why not? He knocked him down, knocked him basically out, right? To where that first fight that was called a draw, people were claiming that the count took too long, the referee's count, that is, that they gave him extra time to get up, that blah, 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 right? So there was a lot of stuff, hence why the rematch took place, right? And again, we get drama on that second fight. So that adds excitement. We still have yet to see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. We have yet to see Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. So there's a lot of live dogs right there. And the division is wide open right now it's wide open, but we're a few fights away, in my opinion, a few fights away from having that undisputed, recognized champion and the man to beat at the heavyweight division. That's the exciting part about it. Another name that just popped in my head was Luis Ortiz. King Kong, right? Luis Ortiz has 2 defeats, both of them at the hands of Deontay Wilder. And he could give trouble to just about anybody in that division. Andy Ruiz is going to be coming back. Another fighter that I was going to get to, and I ended up getting lost in this last point. The fight that I was referring to that's going to take place on December 12th in New Zealand is the card that they've been billing as the biggest grudge match in New Zealand's fight history, and that was going to be between what was his name? It's Joseph Parker, and his last name is Fa, his opponent, who is a 19-0 fighter. Let me see if I could get that name here correctly, because it just skipped my mind as I'm talking to you. And the fight ended up getting canceled as of recent because his blood test ended up coming. He ended up having some type of deficiency in his blood, and now he's going to be submitted to Junior Fa. That's why I couldn't think. I was going to call him Joseph Fa. Junior Fa versus Joseph Parker, which was scheduled in New Zealand to take place December 12th, and you have his something came back irregular with his blood test, and that ended up causing him to pull out of the fight. The fight looks like it's being worked for to be put back together in March, but this blood test, the abnormalities that they ended up discovering in his blood test, is gonna actually put Junior Fa under the knife. He's gonna have surgery. They haven't disclosed as to what type of surgery, what type of problems he's having, but it's gonna sideline him for approximately 4 weeks, and that's gonna push the fight well into the early later stages of the first quarter of 2021, if not the middle of the year. So as of right now, the most recent news is that they're trying to reschedule this fight for March of 2021. Junior Fa, big body, taller than Joseph Parker, undefeated fighter, and it was being billed as an awesome grudge match of New Zealand fighters. We're gonna have to wait, but that's exactly what I'm getting at. That there's so many live dogs in the heavyweight division, not just at the top, but guys that are climbing up the ranks, and they're right there. They're right there to willing to take on the fights and take the throne. One name that I can't mention, I wish. Well, I'm going to mention him, but I can't add to these lists, is Big Baby Miller, Jarrell Miller, fighter out of New York, ends up testing positive for PEDs twice before his big fight with Anthony Joshua, and then earlier this year he was going to have another comeback fight, ended up switching promotions, and can't seem to get his stuff straight. He's an undefeated fighter, a big body, big puncher, with a kickboxing career, and he can't seem to get his act straight. He would be a force to be reckoned with within these top 2 rows of fighters that I've been listing, right? He could be in the A-list fighters, or he could be in the B-list fighters, just one fight away or one tweak away from getting up in the top ranks and the top echelon of the fighters. He's right there. Yeah, he can't get his act straight with whatever it is that he's taking. He just can't seem to clean up his act. And again, he ended up testing positive and failing a test for PEDs. And now he's in the middle of a suspension, and it's almost like the career that never developed, or the amazing career that could have been and wasn't. So who knows if he's going to come back to boxing and how he's going to come back to the heavyweight division. We wish the best to him, but keep an eye out for this fight. Anthony Joshua, Kubrat Pulev fighting December 12th. That's going to be a huge fight. The Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury trilogy fight obviously ended up going under. It ended up getting scrapped. So now we're waiting on that. We're waiting on news from Andy Ruiz. He may be fighting in December, but we're not positive yet. The fight that I had heard of was Andy Ruiz against Chris Arreola, the Nightmare. And that would be an awesome fight, right? That would be an awesome fight for Latinos, for Mexican fans. Although Chris Arreola is on the downside of his career, he's still a game fighter, and it would be a fun fight to see Chris Arreola against Andy Ruiz. Two big fighters, two big punchers. Both of them like to go forward. Andy Ruiz with the better boxing, obviously, with the better boxing IQ, and the better, the more athletic of the two. So I would see Andy Ruiz taking that fight, but however long that fight lasts, it's going to be a fun one to watch. So with that said, thank you guys very, very much for tuning in. Keep your eyes open. Stay tuned to this heavyweight division. Don't blink, because it's going to get more interesting come 2021, and we're bound to see some amazing, amazing fights in the near future. And hopefully, I really think, in my opinion, we're maybe 2 fights away from figuring out who the man is and who's going to be running the show at the heavyweight division in boxing. So thank you guys very much for tuning in to another episode of the Toma Todito Show. I can't wait to talk to you guys again in an upcoming episode. And take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye.